Hello, I'm Mark Hanna and work for Mascott Construction. I'm in my 37th year with Mascott Construction, and I'm the Director of Fit Out, that looks after the Fit Out division, the length and breadth of Ireland and elements in the UK. Whenever we go with clients. So if we have a client base here in Northern Ireland, we will work with the same client in the UK. Qualities of a great leader, good question. I believe bringing people on the journey as opposed to dragging and kicking. I'd like to think people look at me as I have good people skills, and if you understand, everyone's life outside work is busy with families and what have you, and everyone has their own set of individual issues and problems and what have you. If you can understand the person, and if you can bring people on your journey with the mission of what it is you're trying to do, business and names and businesses and everything else are great, but they're nothing without the people. Biggest influence through my business career, fundamentally at the start would have been my parents. My mother and my father certainly invested work ethic. I've worked all my life, my business career, as I say, with Mascott Construction. I'll be entering 37 years this year. My Uncle Jerry and my Uncle Robert, who originally set the business up, Jerry McAvoy and Robert Scott, have been massive parts of my life. I still to this day work with my Uncle Jerry, Jerry McAvoy. Jerry's 72 and is in the business every day. And some of the learning skills that I got from a child to boy to man was I was given enough rope to actually go and make the mistakes and learn from them mistakes. And those they're key pieces that I've learned, and some of the 4 pillars that I stand by today would be, no matter what you do in your life, at the very start, you get educated. Anyone in the decision process will find education. When you get it wrong, you learn from it. So you get educated very quickly. From that education, you grow an element of experience. With the experience comes knowledge, and somewhere down the line, when you do enough of it, the knowledge turns into wisdom. And then that's the position that I find you can look at stuff and go, that won't work, that will work. Where 20 years ago, I looked at it and said, but sure, we'll try it anyway. Now I've learned the hard way, and those lessons can be expensive. Some of the successes in my life, the business career firstly, again, back to some of the education that I got through with Jerry and Robert, and some of the stuff we've done, and growing the business from what dominantly would have been a housing executive, small works type thing, into a fairly well-known name business throughout the years before the demise of Mascott, and the old Mascot in 2016, has been just developing the client relationships and growing the jobs from £300,000 job to £500,000 job to £1 million job to 5 million to 10 million. And as the business grew, the relationships grew, and again, the team grew. And some of the lessons were people in that team. We had wrong people in the teams during that period, and that became evident. And the right people are still in the business and enjoying what they do today. Every business, every personal life, sporting life, there's challenges. And if you can break them down and fix the small ones, the big one generally goes. And it's having the wisdom and the foresight to actually do that. And I don't do it all the time. Sometimes you can't see the trees for the woods and you have to step back. Biggest challenge on a business capacity and a personal capacity was 2016. We found ourselves on the wrong side of Cerberus 20 days prior to doing the deal to close out that particular section. As a result of that, we lost our business on the 11th of August 2016. From that, I personally faced personal bankruptcy. My wife and I lost a lot of money, a lot of personal money, in that process. That was extremely difficult at the time, and without my circle of friends and supportive family, I don't know where things would have led to be honest. I had friends and people who were involved in property, in business, and during some of the darker times of the recession took their own life. That decision is made. Those families still live today without that person or my friend, etc., friends that made that decision. Surround yourself with good people that understand the person behind the business. Everyone will face a challenge. There's no 2 days in the construction industry or in any industry are the same. And if you can take take one day at a time, I suppose. Obviously, you can have the best laid plans in the world, but as Mike Tyson said, it can all go sideways and you're punched in the face. So it's one of them things, look, you just have to, I'm a great believer of control the controllables. And whenever we lost the control of that particular outcome, I had to sit back and then refocus on what I could control. And from that, I've certainly built up an element of resilience and definitely been educated in that process. So I hope I'm a better person from it. After the demise of Mascott as it formerly was, Gareth Loy brought the business over. He was one of 3 people who bid in the business through the administration. Gareth understood what Mascott stood for as a family. We were SME, always have been SME. Gareth understood that, being SME himself. And Gareth's vision was very much aligned with the old Mascot. And Jerry and I and some of the other guys were retained and are still very much part of what we do today. The people that we have around us are key to what we do. SME is completely different to tier 1s out there and to the smaller guys. Just in some of the bigger organisations, you've got people for doing elements. In SME, I talk about you look in the mirror and whoever's looking back is generally the person that has to do it. And fundamentally, that's normally the team that you build around you. I'm a great believer in bringing the team on the journey, as I talked about earlier on from some of the leadership. But I also believe that if people understand what you're trying to achieve and take on what you can, don't try to take something on and under-deliver. If you can over-deliver, bring the process through and build a client, you will build relationships through client teams. On our demise back in August 11, out of the 12 clients, taking the social housing element aside, which government procurement laws, that changed overnight. But out of the private clients, 10 of them stayed with us. The one client that left had financial reason to leave, which fully understand, and if I was in his position, would have done the same. But again, I personally didn't change, Jerry didn't change, that process changed, but we were still the same people behind what we do, and the people that understood that stand by us. So I'm a great believer your reputation will stand by what you do and go and re-deliver, and thankfully to this day we're still fairly busy, and the name will still build significant projects here across the province, and employ currently about 44 people in the business today, and then a phenomenal number of subcontractors through that supply chain as well. Core values, I'm a great believer in standing by if it do what it says in the tin. Don't, I talk about I'm in the business that I hold the hands and kiss the babies and promise that we can do this, but we have to deliver what we say in the tin. And if you bring people on, open and honest. Yes, as back to what I said earlier on, we've good news and bad news to deliver, but if you're bringing people on that process throughout that whole journey of a given project, and it's well planned and you've the right people in place at the start, everything in life will come with its hiccups, and if you can deal with the hiccups on an open and honest basis, generally most of the clients understand it. It's whenever you sometimes try to be too smart about it, or you try to think outside the box that, oh, if I do this, they'll do that. That's whenever you can get things become arguable, let's say, and then you can get money can be tied up in other pieces with legals and what have you. So I would be a great believer in sitting down with the person, with the client team, with whomever that is, or whatever the stakeholders are, and explaining the difficulties, but this is what we're trying to do to fix it, and try to build that trust. And if you can build trust, and if there's a problem, just, right, I'm not coming on the Thursday, I'll be there on the Monday. At least you understand, as opposed to the boys stand there, yeah, they'll be there on the Thursday and they don't come. If they're there on the Monday, you can deal with it. So I'll be a great believer in if people are just open and honest, we all have problems, and anybody who thinks we don't, I'd love to be in that industry. After what I faced in 2016 with the demise of Mascot and the 1 week of my life, my working career, that I was actually unemployed, outside what I do with Mascot, I have a big part of it with Marie Curie. I find myself in an ambassador role for Marie Curie here in Northern Ireland now, and that side of my life certainly kept me grounded. I could have had all the money and all the property and everything that I had before the demise of Mascot and my personal bankruptcy, but I could have had a death sentence in one of the 16 rooms in Marie Curie and still had that stuff. So that certainly has kept me grounded, and I'm very thankful for a lot of things. My health is certainly one of them, and family time. I enjoy Denise and I enjoy travel. I enjoy sport. I got into sport sort of as a result of an experience in Marie Curie late in my life, and I talk about the me time, and the me time for me is going out on the bike, going out for a run, and whether it's the most you could have the hardest day of everyone has hard days in work, and I find whenever I go away and I don't have my mobile phone with me, I have nothing. I don't run with music, I just run with my own thoughts. And I find that I could break a lot of stuff down and do a lot of self-processing when I'm running, because there's nothing else. And you start to break down some of the bigger issues, and before you know it, the issue you're dealing with, you get a new perspective on it. So I certainly find that me time is a big part of what drives me today, and the Marie Curie is a massive side of what I do outside Mascott. Back in before, obviously, when my own father passed away in 2003, up to that, I was involved in property and lots. We were growing the business and what have you, and I literally would have worked a quiet moment. And then when my own father passed away, my perspective certainly, from a business capacity, didn't change, but my values certainly changed, where I realised time's the most precious thing we have. I went away that Friday evening to a rally with a good friend, Richard Hogg. Said last conversation with my father on the phone, he didn't come because we were coming home after the rally. And I realised then, that was, after on reflection, it was the last thing I'd said to my father. After that I started to think about, you know what, my children were young, the family was young, and I wanted to experience things that, travel the world a bit with the kids. So I started to see things differently, where I would have fought way over 10p on the price of a square metre of carpet per se, where now it would be, get it done, if you're finishing such we'll pay you early, or we'll do whatever we're doing. So that certainly changed that perspective. And then when I witnessed my father-in-law passing away in Marie Curie, my whole life changed from what I witnessed, the nurse coming in that morning, and the dignity my father-in-law was afforded in his dying minutes. Certainly has led me to the person that I am today, and the work that I do with Marie Curie. I was just in awe that there's other human beings out there, and that really put perspective on things, where what I thought, by all means, everything is important in its capacity, but what I witnessed that morning was real life problems, as opposed to the painter not turning up, or the tender being late, or a client payment being late. That really switched in me, and from that moment back then, I was a somewhat larger gentleman, and I decided to do something about it. And as I say, found sport late in life. I played football early years, went to England, learned all about pubs and pool competitions, and then when I came back after my father-in-law passed away, I was the most unlikely candidate ever done a marathon, and that's 20 marathons ago and a number of Ironmen ago, and it was one thing led to another, and the sums of money we've raised, it makes a significant difference to the people that I don't even know, which is a huge piece, which I get a lot of pleasure out of that bit, that you're helping people you don't even know. But that resilience, you find a lot about yourself with resilience. You find a lot about your own personal character. I thought I knew myself. When I'd done my first marathon, I swore I'd never do another one. And you dig deep, and you find that if you keep your mind straight, the body will follow. Once the mind starts to waver, everything, and I find that with business, my home life, my business life, that if you can stay focused on what you're doing, you'll be surprised what you can achieve. As I said, my father-in-law passed away on the 7th of November, 2007. I was the most unlikeliest person you'd ever consider would run a marathon. I hadn't as much as run 10k back then. I decided, what I witnessed that morning, and not in a spiritual way, but just what I witnessed, what people were physically doing, and I drove past the hospice for years not knowing what was behind the doors. When the charity itself touched me in the way it did, I decided to do something about it. There'll be 18 years this November. And every year since we've done something, whether it be marathons. Started off doing marathons, done the first one, swore I'd never do another one. Got involved with another friend, Paul Allen. We went to New York and did New York Marathon 2011. Kathy Lockridge, Susie Colgan had a small group, Malone fundraising, and I got involved with girls. We used to do a thing called Annie's Walk, which again, it's back to the thing, whenever you meet the people behind the people. We had our issues with whenever we lost our father-in-law. My dear friend Kathy, she lost her brother the same time we lost Sam. She lost her sister in February 08, and the day they buried her sister, she lost her mother the day she buried her sister. So no matter what's going on in anyone's life, there's always somebody has other things going on. And when Kathy and I got together, I was doing bits for Marie Curie, Kathy was doing bits. The Malone fundraising group, as they were, I was the man, they were looking for a man to join it, which I did back then. We ran small events. In 2011, the pivotal piece was, in 2011, Belfast Hospice was doing a piece to Everspace Camp, and we decided we'd go along. So we thought we'd try to raise £100,000. We set out with a goal to try to do a black tie event. It started off as a dance, didn't happen. It was a type of dancey thing. It didn't happen. We did a black tie event, and the time Ball was born. Did the first one, did Everest Base Camp in 11, went to Kilimanjaro 12, took 14 people to Machu Picchu in 14. Hanna, who, whilst in the side of Kilimanjaro, talked me into doing my first triathlon, which is the Police and Fire Games, or the Marie Curie entry. Went along, done it. I had no idea what I needed. I had a wetsuit, tri-suit, none of it was oblivious to me. I did the first one, and then I went and did a half Ironman after that. And I remember, I think it's on my Facebook post I put up, I had the utmost respect for anyone that ever considers an Ironman, which I thought was absolutely lunacy. And little did I know the following year I would do Frankfurt. And from that I've done 6 Ironmen, of which, and 20 marathons, of which 6 have been as part of Ironman. And Hanna is a big part of that. We've ran 6 time balls. We've recently just completed the one in November 24, and we handed over £202,000 net from the one event on the night, which is phenomenal. Every calendar year, it takes £11 million approximately to run the hospice. So does 64% of that comes from the type of work I do and so many other people. The rest of it comes through work that the hospice and the charity does with the 5 health trusts. But the element of what we do and the people it affects, because Marie Curie is just not cancer care. Marie Curie is the biggest palliative care charity outside the national health. So whether it's Parkinson's, whether it's heart, whether it's lungs, they're there for everybody. If I can give people the same experience that I got on the 7th of November 2007, today, I've done my job. And again, it's not about raising hundreds of thousands of pounds, raising awareness. £23 goes to pay a nurse for an hour. That'll give somebody the same experience that we got back as a family unit when our world was upside down. As my black fringes has depleted and my hairline has moved, I would certainly say control the controllables. I used to worry about things that it might snow today, might not. I used to worry about the silliest things. Control what you can control, and whenever you lose control, control what is left to control, if that makes sense in a roundabout way. And the other thing is definitely step back from the trees. Sometimes you can get so absorbed in what you're doing, you can't see the trees for the woods. If you can step back from it and look in, and again, whenever you find in your life, no matter what it is, whether it's personal, whether it's business, whatever aspect it is, any big problem, my Uncle Robert taught me this many years ago, any big problem in your life, if you can break down the wee small bits, you generally find the big bit will disappear. Absolutely. 2012 Everest Base Camp. It was on my 40th birthday, or it was just before my 40th birthday. It was one of the most humbling experiences of my life. It was before obviously my bankruptcy and everything else. It was in the old Mascott. There wasn't many things wrong with Mark's world, but I was phenomenally humbled by the simplest thing. People who had the least give you the most, and it's an experience that'll take me down days. The villages, the tea huts, the simple things that what people lived on, the smile in the children's faces whenever we were giving them colouring in books and pencils, as opposed to the different societies and different worlds where the new iPhone, the latest car, the latest watch. It really put perspective, and it's something that if anyone has the time to do it, I would certainly recommend going to a trek like that, because again, it was a Marie Curie trek, so I was away with like-minded people. It wasn't a work piece, it wasn't a school piece where you had to go, it was our choice to go, and that certainly moved the dial in my world of whenever I come home, how I looked at things. A lot of material things that I thought were important then certainly disappeared slightly. Absolutely. I will be, next Thursday, the 24th of April, I'll be with Denise 31 years. We'll be married 28 this year. We've a son and a daughter. Jordan is 27 past, and my daughter will be 25 in June. She's a P6 teacher. Jordan's currently in Canada working in a ski resort, loving life. Through good, bad and indifferent through my life to date, the support and the family support, Denise needs a medal. Absolutely needs a medal to it, but like any business leader out there, she understands what it is, and it's not a 9-to-5 job we do. She's fully involved in what I do with Marie Curie, what I do in the sporting events for it. She's fully involved in what we do at Mascott as well, from a point of view of it's not a 9-to-5 job. I'm currently all over Ireland working with a PLC company from the UK, and a lot of our work is at night time. So I literally leave the house on a Monday and I mightn't be home till Thursday, like so many other people out there. But the weekend is our time, and we enjoy travel. We enjoy going out with our friends and stuff. And that network is invaluable. No matter what you're doing in your life, no matter how successful you are, if you have a network, it's priceless and it's free. And some of the people that have done pieces for me during my financial struggles, they buy into who I am and what I stand for, and those are things I'll never forget. Favourite book? It's one I read a number of years ago, and I believe it phenomenally well. I believe what it stands for. Jerry Duffy, TikTok 10. Jerry was the first decaman in Ireland and the UK, and basically done 10 Ironmen each day in a row for 10 days. And he talked about, I met him at a Belfast Marathon piece he spoke about one time, and he talks about breaking problems down. He wasn't thinking about day 10. On day 1 he thought about this swim, and it was in a lake, and he swam around the buoys, but to get to buoy 2 he had to get to buoy 1. To get to the bike he had to get round the swim course, but he didn't think about the 2.4 mile swim. He talked about each piece, a buoy at a time, and breaking it down into bite-sized pieces. Same in the bike, he broke the bike down into segments. He said it was 112 miles. Didn't talk about the first 2 miles because he was getting in and out, and everything else was 10-mile segments. And the marathon, he talks about to get to mile 2, you'd get through mile 1. To get to mile 3, you get mile 2. And whenever I read that book a number of years ago, it taught the lessons of breaking every single thing down. We in the construction industry don't put a roof on first. We're starting the foundations and we work our way through it. And if you deal with each piece, whether it's your business career, whether it's your personal career, whatever it is you're involved in, if you can break the fundamentals down and deal with them, tick, go to the next one, tick, go to the next one, tick. And that book, it's something that I've read a number of times since. Films, dare I say Top Gun? I'm a massive Top Gun fan, as Denise will tell you, to the point, and for everything that stands for, and the stick that I do get from it. But it was one of them movies that back in '86 when it first came out, I think it was '86, first came out, and then I dragged Denise to it last year on 3 occasions to watch the new one, and then the Top Gun 3 will be out this year. It's just one of them pieces, and a lot of Tom Cruise's movies. There's so many good movies out there, so that's one it's just something I've always watched, and it's always been a bit of crack. I came into the construction industry nearly by accident. I started working Peter Woods when I was 12, so I'm 41 years in the construction industry. I did business and finance, and I was accepted to go to business school in Cardiff and Liverpool University. During that summer back then, whenever I was getting ready to go, I'd accepted the position in Liverpool. I paid my deposit to go for accommodation. I came into work, I was on the sites, obviously earning money in the construction industry, like many young people were at the time, labouring. My Uncle Jerry had brought me into the office over the summer, and I really took the bug for the dealing, the speed of buying, selling. I just took into it. My brother Paul was doing a HND in Jordanstown at the time, and I had enough points through my, back then with the BTECs and stuff that we'd done. So I went down to Jordanstown and I talked my way into the HND course, and then went on and did bits and pieces from that. But if I hadn't come in there, I'd probably found myself in the finance world, and I dare say probably accountancy, but I don't believe I would have been a desk type accountant. I think I'd have been something, probably, if I had my own practice by now, I don't think I'd been working for somebody put it that way. Okay, as a 53-year-old talking to a 20-year-old Mark, I would try to tell him to control the controllables, to deal with what he can and what pieces he can control. There's a lot of noise will come through everyone's life. There's a lot of, he's got this, she's got that. Focus on what you want to do, and try and stay on that mission to deal with whatever that position is. There's lots of things will come at you, deal with them, but you can only deal with what you can control. Things will come out, as a testament today, there's elements will come outside your control, but everything I went through personally, I'm still alive, I'm still the same person. Yes, the banking world changed, yes, my financial position changed, but in elements, some of your biggest lessons are coming through some of your biggest mistakes, and that's where your education, experience, wisdom comes from. A lot of people see me today obviously as the mark of Mascott. They understand obviously the Marie Curie side of my world. A number of years ago, Richard Hogg and I, obviously I rallied fairly competitive. Great way of spending money for anyone out there that has lots of money to spend if they wanted to get involved in sponsorship. 2002 we won the Scottish Championship, Group N, and 2003 we won the Northern Ireland Championship with Richard Hogg, back then Evo 6. And the rallying the game is a massive part of my world. But it was something that we don't really, it's hard to believe it's 20 years ago. But a lot of people probably don't know that. And the people that are in my circle today probably don't know that that side of my world was as competitive as it was. Driven. Competitive tournament, again, if you can keep your mind, as whenever I crossed the marathon in 2009, as coming from being a somewhat larger gentleman, didn't do 2008 because it was too big, trained on and got myself in the position I could do it in 2009, something changed in my head that if with the right support, sacrifice, and obviously family buy-in, there's nothing's impossible. From that resilience that I built through that, as obviously taking me through a number of marathons, a number of Ironman, some fantastic trekking expeditions to Kilimanjaro and Peru and Everest and what have you. And there's a few things where that competitive element certainly comes out. And again, it's just be your best you can, but compete against yourself. Forget about everything else around you. I learned that early doors, that you only thought you were as good, but just 1% changes all the time. And I become more competitive as what I did. And my times were the reflection. But they're my times, so it doesn't matter what's going on around me. Key driver. I generally, in the world that I'm in with Marie Curie and the level of stuff that we do with Marie Curie, and even through my own experiences, through good, bad and indifferent with everything I've been through in the business world, through my lessons with Jerry and Robert, obviously in previous Mascot, through the support of Gareth and the current Mascot, that business will come and go. Businesses will always come and go. Your friendships and people like that will stay forever. I'm a great believer in bad experiences. So because the money comes, things happen, but nobody will ever take your memories. And if you can buy experiences with people and people that are in your circle, that has certainly driven me to do some of the things we've done and push myself to be able to do some things we've done. There's other pieces where, on reflection, you probably think, choice, but I'd rather make a decision than not have a decision. I'd rather, sometimes you make a bad decision, own it. Live by it. Don't push it over the net that they did or he did. If you made the decision, own it, and again communicate that. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but the bad decision in my world is better than making no decision. Where because time's precious in everyone's world. Future plans for the business. Obviously, with the support of Gareth when he took the business over, we've changed the business slightly now. We've fundamentally broke it down into 3 departments. So we have the social care, social housing side of the business, construction side of the business, and the fit out side of the business. 3 near little cash centres, so to speak. Want to grow the business that it's sustainable. It's growth that we can achieve, that is achievable, as opposed to having these massive plans that you can't physically deliver through the pressures of work, labour force, cash flow, all the fundamentals that every business faces. So I'd certainly like to grow the element of business that I control, the fit out section. Currently do about 4.5–5 million. Grow that, but again, grow it in a way that whatever it is we take on and we deliver. Because from that delivery, we'll get repeat business. That repeat business saves me a world of pain in tendering, and it builds trust with the client teams. And as we've grown and the type of business and our customer base, from being small local business to PLCs that are multinationals, we're now dealing with stuff, as I say, the length and breadth of Ireland. And what started off as doing small minor works, we're now delivering full-on £1 million new shop fits for them. To help people, genuinely to help people. I certainly got a start up in life at the very start when Jerry seen something in me, brought me into the office, and to the point that where Jerry, Robert and I owned the business. Gareth obviously seen something in me that retained me from the old Mascot to the new Mascot. And I believe a lot of the young guys that came into our business in the old days and today, most of them come back because we're SME. They get an education on many fronts. across the business, with delivery of the work, how the work comes in, the finance, what it takes actually to run a job, what it takes to run a business, the people behind all that. And if I can genuinely help people in both my business world and my Marie Curie world, hopefully that's what I'm remembered for.